Welcome to Funny They Don't Look Jewish, where Judaism appears in the panels. Our purpose is to find characters, stories, and issues of comics that explore explicitly Jewish content. I'm Henry Bernstein.
And I'm Brandon Bernstein.
No relation. Okay. Hello, Brandon.
Hello, Henry. We're very close.
And
And I would describe our being close as Fantastic Four. But Fantastic Two.
yeah,
Okay.
it's just
Yeah.
I feel like there's more of like a Johnny thing happening less than like a Sue
Sure.
Reed thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A
Maybe, who
Johnny
knows?
Ben. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good relation. Yeah.
I mean, do you really see, I guess,
Do you know what I like about that actually is
what?
with Johnny and Ben is because Fantastic Four is a family and everyone mistakes them for a family, but they are literally the two that have
No
no
relation.
relation.
Very good.
So,
Brought it back.
yeah.
Okay, so this is an emergency podcast.
Yes, because I was away at camp and didn't really have reliable internet or phone access,
Right.
even though I was able to see it on a day off. But I just returned to Chicago.
So you saw Fantastic Four First Steps. You and I saw Superman together. It's
Yes,
funny
this is
that
true.
our off-brand movie we saw together, but
Yes,
we did not do Fantastic Four together. However, we spoke about it briefly.
yeah,
So I mean, people have been asking me. I'm sure people have been asking you like
yes.
about the Jewish stuff. So I think it's fair to say this is both the first ever MCU film and most Jewish stuff that has been in an MCU film.
Yeah, MCU film, absolutely. And I think that's an important caveat because Moon Knight clearly had a Judaism present in a way that left people so dissatisfied and so unhappy. But
Boo.
that was a Disney Plus series. So
Right.
here we finally had, right, like Judaism that appeared. And maybe we should just like mention directly Jewish spoiler alert for the
Yeah. Oh,
Fantastic
yeah.
Four
This
First
is a
Steps.
spoiler-filled Fantastic Four First Steps. If you haven't seen Fantastic Four First Steps, go see it, then come back and listen to us for sure.
Absolutely.
We would have had this out a week ago, but it wasn't
As I said, I
planned.
can't.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with the explicitly Jewish content, or do you want to start with the implicitly Jewish content?
That's a great question. Let's start with the explicit
Yeah,
because that's what we do, and maybe we'll kind of pick apart the thing,
sure.
what's what. So there is, I would say, first and foremost, there's Hebrew in the background on Yancey Street,
Yeah,
like in the storefront.
we know that the Lower East Side, where Ben Grimm grew up, in Yancey Street, modeled after the Lower East Side of Jack Kirby's youth, we see Hebrew along various storefronts and reminded me of the Lower East Side that I knew when I lived in New York and we go
Right.
down there and visit. Like Hebrew was present, and just seeing those letters was like I liked it because it was such a non-big deal. It was just part of being in New York. And if you were in Chinatown, you'd expect to see Chinese characters, right? And so just like Hebrew being around there was awesome to see.
I think what I really liked about that also is what you said about like it felt they did a good job with this one, like they've done with some of the Spider-Man movies of making New York feel lived in. Like
Yes.
MCO has kind of gone away from that. Like the Avengers, the first one is really like the last like New Yorky, other than the Spider-Man thing, which
Sure.
was
Yeah.
Sony,
Yeah.
kind of its own thing. But like so I really like that we're back in New York. Like the Fantastic Four are a staple of New York. Everyone knows the Baxter Building, and
Yes.
so to be back there, whether it was a different Earth, which was Jack Kirby's birthday,
Yes.
Earth 828, I
Yeah, I was
think.
gonna
Yeah,
say it's
yeah.
like eight something
I
eight.
think
Yeah.
it's either 818 or 828. But anyway, I liked that, and I liked it felt lived in. Like if you were walking around New York, you'd see Yiddish lettering up the other
Absolutely.
side. So there's that. Then the thing uh, is being taunted by some kids or cheered on who are behind a wrought iron gate with a Jewish star on it.
Yes, and I think I missed the Jewish star the first time. I just thought they were school kids. I didn't recognize that it was there.
I don't think
Um,
it's there at first. I think it's only
on the zoom
on the
outs that
zoom
you
out
kind of
and
see
then
it.
later when they show it. I think the first shot, the
Right.
kids, because I also was like, oh, it's just the
It
kids.
just felt like school kids that are right.
I thought it was an
They
orphanage at
encouraged
first.
him. I thought so too.
Yeah,
And they encourage him to lift up the car and then to throw it. And he's playing with the kids and he pretends to throw
the
it. Was it?
Volkswagen too.
Yeah. Oh
In
wow.
the
Okay.
60s,
Talking
I
about the
mean,
implicit.
that was a
Okay.
big, yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, okay, so they're trying, then there's sort of then you kind of pan out a little bit more, and it's clearly a synagogue or
Right.
some sort of Jewish
Some
institution,
sort of Jewish
actually.
building that is present there. Yes. In
So
this alternate world that is still the 1960s.
so then Ben goes to talk to not uh
A
uh,
child.
not a child and not Alicia,
Master.
Master,
Yeah.
but a woman named Rachel Rosman. Now, I think that, or many people are saying that Rosman is short for Rosalind Kirby, who was Jack
Oh, I
Boy.
love that.
So
Okay.
this is a non-comic canonical character.
Right.
It is a new person played by the
Yes.
amazing Natasha Lyonne.
Which, by the way, Natasha Lyonne showed up on screen, and I was like, "What am I watching? How is she in the MCU?" And also to have the most New York of the
Oh
Fantastic
yeah.
Four of the Thing, hanging out with Natasha Lyonne, who's maybe the most New York person in existence,
Yeah.
right? It was incredible to see them bantering with each other. And at first, as I'm watching, I'm also thinking to myself, "Okay, I'm pretty sure she's Jewish. Is she an Orthodox Jew? Like she's acting like she's." I feel like maybe this woman's an Orthodox Jew.
So let's talk about a little bit about Rachel a little bit because it felt like a bunch of stuff kind of smushed together, which is fine.
Yeah.
But so was she the Hebrew school teacher, the director of education? Was she the rabbi? No,
No,
definitely.
she was definitely a member of the community, as we see later on. She's like a member of that synagogue, of that community. She has
You
some
didn't see,
position.
think she was presiding in some way later?
Maybe she was, but at most it would be director of education or like director of the school. I didn't get the sense that she was the spiritual leader of the entire place.
Did you get the sense that she was at least those kids' teacher? Like
Yeah,
he, so
exactly.
like they
She,
were at Hebrew
at
school.
minimum, she was their teacher. They were, well, I don't know, was it Hebrew school? I also wouldn't necessarily know. Like in the 1960s, was that possibly a Jewish day school? Right? Like I don't know to what degree it
Like
was.
maybe there was a Jewish day school in the synagogue because later they're praying there.
Exactly.
So
Right. So like is this a Hebrew school that they're at after hours or is this just where they go for school?
I
Because they seem to
yeah.
be having like a recess,
Yeah.
which even
There
when I
was
went to
three
Hebrew school, I had like a maybe a 20-minute recess, but I don't know.
gave recess when I was a
Yeah.
Hebrew school teacher. I kind of felt like at first I was confused. I thought it was just like an orphanage, or whatever. Then I was like, wait, what are they at Hebrew school? And then I was like,
Yes.
I I still am not 100% sure what that was, but clearly the thing is interacting with some neighborhood Jewish kids that know him.
Yes. And there's something interesting about the fact that the Fantastic Four, for the most part, live in the Baxter Building. This is a high-rise, fancy building, separate from New York. And the Thing is the only character in the entire movie that they show over and over again, interacting with the city on just
Mm,
a like he's part of the city, which is funny because he's the most physically obvious one to stand out,
right,
and he wears the trench coat and the
right.
hat, which is such a nod to the comics and so lovely. But like Reed and Sue are kind of, I don't want to say they're like snobby elitist, but like they are not out there among the people of New York for the most
Yeah,
part,
and that's
other
a
than in
plot
press
point
conference.
later with
Right.
Sue
When she goes down in the
when she
pier.
goes, yeah,
But the Thing is the only one we really see going out and just being like a man of the people. And I
right.
loved that about his characterization.
That felt very comic booky. That felt
Yeah,
very accurate to the
absolutely.
comics. So skip ahead. I think not much other Jewish.
Sorry,
Was
the
it?
one other
Yeah,
thing I want to
yeah.
just say is that I did my best to avoid spoilers for this movie, as I always
Same,
do,
same.
but inevitably you end up opening some app or site that you don't expect it and something comes your way, especially when I'm in my life, I would have been there like night it debuted, but because I had to wait till I had a night off on camp, I couldn't see it immediately. And so I saw somebody post it and be like, "Oh," and they mentioned something Jewish that happens in the
Oh, so
movie.
that was
And so it was
spoiled.
spoiled. So I actually was spending my entire time waiting for the moment and watching. So I actually think I missed the Star of David that you're mentioning it a lot because I was looking for, I guess I'll spoil what eventually
Yeah.
happens. I knew there was a synagogue coming at some
Okay.
point. And until it got to the synagogue scene, I was just like waiting and waiting for it. And I so desperately wish I could have just had the moment instead of being like waiting for it the entire time. Because it really did impact my viewing experience.
My 8-year-old son Judah did the Leo meme. He's like, Dad, Dad, Shul. I was like,
Love
oh,
that.
that's why we're here.
Yeah, that's my boy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, well, that's disappointing that you
Yes.
saw. I'm really sorry to hear
Yeah.
that. I didn't have somehow didn't have any of the Jewish stuff spoiled or even the main plot points. The only thing that I felt was spoilery were the trailers we saw. And I felt like the third trailer that was at um Superman was
Yeah.
egregious. Like
I went to the bathroom during that, right? Like I think I missed it.
no,
Or was
because
that, did I see that one?
no, because I said because when they show Sue and Reed lying down with Franklin,
Oh,
I
oh, I
went,
guess he's born. Yeah,
I go,
yeah,
oh, they have the baby.
yeah,
Cool. Guess I didn't
yeah,
need
yeah.
to know that.
Right,
Like,
right, right.
so there's nothing Jewish was spoiled, thank God. Um, but I was sort of Well, do you feel like a sense of relief when you saw it? Because I felt a sense of, I was like really anxious about
So,
it. Like, I'm like, are they
right,
either going to skip it or are they going to screw it up? And
right.
both I would have been really pissed about.
Right. So you want us to go into now fully, like he eventually goes, Galactus is coming. They've tried
Yeah,
everything they can to
yeah.
stop him, but he's coming to the Earth. There's not a certainty that they'll stop him. And Ben goes on this, what could be his last night on Earth, and goes to the synagogue and finds Natasha and goes inside. And the thing is inside the synagogue. And I want you to know that I had two reactions to it. The first reaction was I was crying in my seats, not like deep tears, but just like I was
Got a
like,
little verklempt.
there's a synagogue
Yeah,
in an MCU movie.
yeah.
I've been waiting for this. I watched the entirety of the Miss Marvel TV show, like loving it and loving the Muslim Pakistani representation and saying, like, I just want this, but for Judaism.
Hmm.
And so to see the synagogue on screen, I felt verklempt. Like you said, I
Hmm.
felt this, like, I was moved. I loved it. I loved that the character was there. And then, both in that moment, I realized it, but as I thought about it, I was like, the thing wasn't really the Jewish one.
Right.
Rachel was the
Yeah,
Jewish one.
yeah.
And the fact that they didn't let the thing be Jewish. Because there's a way to watch this movie and to just think that he's a non-Jewish guy who has a crush on a Jewish woman
Of course.
and is coming in.
Because he
And
says, he goes out of his way to say, I came to see you.
I came to
That's
see
like,
you.
oh,
Right.
missed
And I
opportunity.
saw the user Jewish Comics Queen had this great point of like you just need she's on both Threads and I think Instagram and some others, so shout out if you're listening.
Mm.
She had this point of there's such a simple dialogue fix of just saying, boy, I haven't been in one of these since I was a kid. That's
Since
all
I
you
was
needed.
13 or something.
Right.
Yeah,
Something to
yeah,
indicate it. So I was both like at first I was moved to tears
yeah.
and then I was kind of brokenhearted
A
because
little disappointing.
for me it was majorly
Yeah,
disappointing because you don't it's very easy to read him as not Jewish. And I
yeah.
wanted it explicit. I wanted incontrovertible proof. And you can still wiggle out and
Right.
say that he's not Jewish himself.
I our mutual friend Rabbi Jeremy Fine had a theory, and I think he's probably right. He thinks there was more. Like, because I was disappointed. Like, I was waiting for the thing to take his hat off and
And
put
have it
on
put
the
on the
yarmulke,
yarmulke.
and I
Yeah.
knew that was like a stretch.
Yeah.
But it was like he's already in the synagogue with the
Right.
Jewish girl who works in
And
the
also
synagogue.
having grown a rock
Beard,
beard.
yeah, I know. That's
Right? It was
did he
just
ever
like
do that in the comics, by the way? Because that was
I don't
awesome.
think
I
so.
was obsessed with the rock
It
beard.
was amazing. I
Yeah,
mean, there was a while there. I remember when Mr. Fantastic Reed grew a
yeah,
beard,
he
and
looks
that
good.
became he's
Yeah,
so good with a
yeah,
beard. And I love it when characters unusually do it. Like there's a while in X-Men where Colossus had a beard. He
yep,
looked awesome with like all metal
yeah.
and the beard. So like the Rock beard was a cool look and did feel Jewish coded, right?
Uh-huh. Totally. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. So so I was like a little, so that I was like swept up in the synagogue thing, and I was like,
absolutely.
my kid is like, pointing, and then I was like a little disappointed that there wasn't more. And when he said, I'm here to see you," like I got what they were trying to do emotionally, but
Yes.
that was like, oh, you kind of blew it a little
It felt
bit.
like it because you have an opportunity there to be able to say,
They were at the
look,
goal line and they just couldn't. Sorry to use a sports reference.
no, it's
They just
fine.
couldn't punch it in.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
look, the common phrase is there's no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole, right? Like you
Uh-huh.
constantly have people who don't believe in God who end up in these situations where it's like, my plane's got turbulence, and even though technically turbulence doesn't mean something's gonna go wrong, people
Please
start praying,
God.
please
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
right? A moment later, they don't believe anymore,
right,
right? So the idea that the thing was going to a synagogue the
right.
night before maybe the world was going to be destroyed, I wanted it to be a happy accident because I'll admit I have been Shavuot is the time it happens most. I've gone to synagogue, I've gone to giant Jewish organizations and Jewish events, and been there both for my own spiritual fulfillment and also like my eyes are open for like that woman I find attractive. My eyes are open looking at like that person. Oh, I hope that girl is there because I
Mhm.
want to be able to like see her or flirt with her or whatever. So it could be both, is what I'm trying to say. He
Totally.
could be there to see her, and he could be there because like if this is the last night, it's important for him to be with his people. And
See,
that would have been so meaningful.
that the thing you just said, the thing,
Yeah.
but the thing you just said, that was what I was how I interpreted it until he said that line, "I'm here to see you." I felt like he wasn't like, oh, he's not there to pray. He was there to check on like if he's gonna go down,
We're
he's
gonna,
gonna be with he's gonna be protecting the people of
yeah,
Yancey. Like he
yeah,
knows the whole city's been cleared out, they're underground, but he knows everyone's in Shul, so he's like if that building comes down, he's gonna be covering them, whatever. And
100%.
then he's like, oh, he just went to go see Rachel, which is fine. And like, she seems like a nice Jewish girl. I wish them well. I
Right,
hope they get
right,
married and we can get a comic adaptation of their wedding.
right.
But
But when you have a
yeah,
comic where like the thing, we have seen him evolve from 41 years after he's created, finally revealed as Jewish on the page.
right,
And then in the time from 2002, when he's revealed as being Jewish in that first issue of Fantastic Four by Carl Kessel, all the way until now, where we have seen him have a bar mitzvah, have a Jewish wedding, become the expert coming in Moon Knight's funeral to be
yeah,
able to
yeah,
like explain
yeah,
about the Shiva
yeah,
and all this. He is clearly so Jewish, and he gets married to a woman who's not Jewish.
right.
And so obviously, like
Although Anita
interfaith
Diamond's
relations are
book gets quoted in
yes, yeah, yeah. But the
that.
point being that his Judaism is so central to him. So to see it offloaded onto another
Yeah,
character, like I would 1,000%, like I would rather he be Jewish and interested in someone who's not Jewish
totally.
and like really let him own it. Like it was nice to see that, but it really felt like being like this whole Jewish thing, we're gonna put it on a minor side character who doesn't matter. It can't be part of who he is. And
Right.
the basically it bothered me at first, and the further away I've gotten from my viewing of it, the more and more it has bothered me. And at the same time, I recognize like, is it them messing up like something that's so simple, or is it me being like every time I get a tiny bit of representation, like more, more, I'm greedily, hungrily, and I am a little greedily
But
and hungrily demanding
but
more.
we've talked about this before, like other uh races, ethnicities, religions
Right.
are explored so vastly in the MCU and so well and so
Right.
accurately. And
Daredevil is Catholic. It's
yeah,
Marvel is Muslim. Like,
yeah, it's a deep part of them. And but but the Jews like,
yeah.
we'll only show a little bit just to make them a little happy,
Right. We'll
happy
we'll
until they
give them,
actually analyze the movie.
right.
So Jeremy had said, I started to say like he thinks that like this movie was like they cut like an hour out of it, like
Right.
it was really long,
Yeah.
and he thinks there were probably some more scenes where building that may have built to that, and then maybe like an even further scene where
Right.
maybe we would have seen more, and maybe we don't know
Right.
until they release those deleted
Some,
scenes.
right. Some Blu-ray with deleted scenes or whichever. Yeah.
But that's not canon, and so I guess my question is, Brandon, well, should we get into the implicit stuff first?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so what did you? So I would say my number one implicitly Jewish thing was that when the Herald came to Earth, one of the buildings she flew by was the Timely offices of
Mm,
Stan and Jack, and they get up and
amazing.
look out the window, and they're credited in the credits as Timely employee one, timely employee two, or something like
Amazing.
that.
Right.
So that was cool. To me, a young Jack Kirby is implicitly
Right.
Jewish.
For any
Yeah.
listeners who maybe don't know, Timely was the original name of the publisher that would eventually transform into Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Before it was Marvel, it was called
So
Timely.
when
And
they
so they,
created Captain America in the 40s, it
right, it
was
was
for Timely
Timely.
Comics.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. But just there are
Yeah.
listeners who may not be
Right.
aware. Yeah, that was wonderful. For me, it came out fully in the Thing's characterization. It was the fact that I mean, this is always the thing, but he was the most human member of the team.
Hmm.
He was such a mensch, right? When
Hmm.
it comes to,
He was so
he
quiet,
was so
soft spoken.
quiet, soft-spoken,
Yeah.
gentle. Like he really struck me as this, at least like what I want to be the depiction of like the sweet Jewish man,
He was
right?
much less gruff than he is in the comics.
And the
Like he didn't
comics
get
is much
crabby once.
exactly right, which I kind of like that they show like, yeah, that crabby side of him is for the cartoon, in the same way that the catchphrase of "it's clobbering time" he
Yeah.
doesn't want to say. It's like that's not the real him. Like they went for a very sweet, gentle version of the thing, and I liked that as a take on the character. I liked him, and that I kind of made it all the more like the entire time as I'm waiting for a synagogue scene that I know is coming, and I'm hoping for him to be very explicitly Jewish, I'm like, oh, I love this is his that's like this Jewish gentle Jewish man that he
Hmm.
actually is.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was really just his behavior to me felt so menschy is the only way I can describe it.
Totally. Okay. Anything else that was implicitly Jewish that you caught?
This is the problem with having been at camp and like in
I
this
know.
whirl of things, I'm not fully
I
remembering
I
it.
didn't catch anything
Yeah,
else either.
yeah,
It was really just that. Yeah, it's like weird because like in the comics, I do Reed and Sue and Johnny ever acknowledge his, other than those like when he had his bar mitzvah, when they were sitting at his wedding, like do they ever acknowledge him being Jewish?
No, it's really only at the bar mitzvah and the
Yeah.
wedding. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
they don't really talk about it much.
I guess that's good because like in a John like all of the Johnny Ben stuff is always comic relief. It's always
Yeah,
them bantering with each other. So I would hate to see Johnny like make a Jewish joke or something, you
absolutely.
know. So
Yeah.
that's fine. And he is like so coded. Like he and Sue are obviously so Gentile coded,
Yes,
you know.
yeah.
And Reed, I whatever, his his religion is science.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. He
So
was an atheist 100%.
right. Overall, all right, so so before we get into the overallness of the movie, what what would you like to see? Although I think the movie is not doing well, which is a shame. It did great opening weekend, but I
Right.
think that Marvel fatigue is real. I mean,
Yeah.
like it's I'm sad to see it because I enjoyed it, and I want to get into your take in a second. But if they make a sequel, and I know they will return, as we were told, what would you like to see to maybe course correct? You know, if you were being realistic, knowing that like they, they're going to disappoint us again with Judaism, what would they
Sure.
do to like include more Jewish stuff in a sequel and fix it and not take away from the story, maybe
Right. So
enhance it?
just based on the storylines and the way it's working, they're clearly building to a version of Secret Wars, which is probably in the Marvel comics. In the 1980s, there was a big crossover called Secret Wars, where an all-powerful alien called the Beyonder took all the heroes and villains from Earth, made them this planet called Battleworld, and had them fighting each other. Now, 30 years later in 2015, Jonathan Hickman wrote an incredible version of Secret Wars, or using that same title, where all the multiple universes of the Marvel Universe, all the different parallel realities started crashing into each other. And we've already heard references in the MCU to incursions, which is the term that was used when one reality starts to collide with another. And in the comics, the way it worked was either they would both crash into each other and be destroyed, or one reality would have to destroy the other to keep surviving. And in the end, the last two universes standing are the regular Marvel Comics universe and the Ultimate Universe, and they come together. Anyway, the point being,
It was sort of their Crisis on Infinite
it was their
Earths.
version of Crisis in a
Yeah.
lot of ways, yes. So I think in the movies, we know we're going to Doom with Doomsday. We know we're going to Secret Wars. I think we're going to get a version of Secret Wars that it seems both 1980s and 2015. So my guess would be we know from the end of the Thunderbolts, spoiler alert for the
Yeah.
post-credit scenes of Thunderbolts,
Yeah.
that the Fantastic Four ship comes into the
Mhm.
regular MCU. I think the
By the way,
Fantastic
shocking that the movie didn't end like that.
Yes,
I was actually
I was
really,
expecting something
yeah.
that, but I like that
I
it was
thought they were
sort of
gonna
cut.
lose.
Yeah,
I was like,
right, right, right. They thought they'd come.
yeah.
So I do think that they're coming over from another time. They're either going to be lost from their reality or their reality is going to get destroyed. So I think that the Fantastic Four, one, they're going to be like Captain America, and that they're coming from the 1960s to suddenly 2020s in our world.
Well, it never says it's the 60s explicitly. It's just
Right. It
implied.
really feels like
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And they're going to be in this world, and they're going to, I think their universe is going to get destroyed, which I think will leave the characters jaded.
But in the comic, spoiler alert for Jonathan Hickman Secret Wars, um, Franklin Richards is the one who creates the worlds, right? Is in
No, I
it,
think you're thinking of Onslaught when he creates the Heroes Reborn universe. Doctor Doom is the one who
oh,
creates it in Secret
Oh,
Wars.
Doctor Doom created
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But wasn't Franklin, didn't Franklin save them then? Like,
That you're thinking of Onslaught in 1996 when all the heroes sacrifice themselves to Onslaught and Franklin creates a pocket universe to keep them all in. And that becomes the Heroes Reborn world with
yes.
Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld doing new versions of Captain
Wow, that
America and
really had an
Fantastic Four and
impact on me.
whatnot.
I guess.
I mean,
I mean, things you read when
like
you're
11
13,
years old and
14.
have to, exactly,
Yeah.
right? It really clings to you. But
But
no, Franklin,
Franklin
it's
had nothing to do with it. With
no
like,
Doom gets the power, I think, of a Beyonder in the 2015. I don't remember exactly. He creates the battle world, which in this case is a patchwork of all the realities he can save and bring together. And he kind of locks away Reed Richards and takes over the family. So in the battle world,
right,
Doctor
Sue's married
Doom
to.
is married to Invisible Woman, to Sue, and Franklin and Valeria are his children rather than Reed's. So Franklin is very much a pawn in that version, from what I remember, not the one
And
responsible.
doesn't help fix everything in the end.
I I don't think so, but I don't fully recall.
Okay.
Um,
So that's how Miles Morales gets to the
right, end up
regular
coming in.
Earth.
Yes. Yeah, what I remember is I remember both 1980 Secret Wars and 2015 Secret Wars, um, it's Molecule Man is a very big part of it because Doom teams with him to be able to get the power to do this. Anyway, all of this to say,
Yeah.
I think the Fantastic Four is going to be jaded from losing their home. I think they're going to hopefully get a bit more edge to them because they did feel a little milk toast,
Hmm.
I would say, as characters. And I would love to see, in terms of recovery, the Thing being jaded and then having an experience with another Jewish person who helps to like reawaken his faith a little bit and
Hmm.
reconnect him to his Judaism as part of dealing with the loss of an entire universe. That would be something they could do. Right. Do similar to the comics where he grew up Jewish, he's kind of moved away from it, and then something brings him back.
Oh, like that would be like his world
Like
lo
his world is destroyed. He's
losing
jaded.
Rachel Rosman
He
would
loses
actually,
Rachel.
yeah.
He has this feeling of like nothing matters.
Hmm.
And then he has an experience with something Jewish
Hmm.
that reconnects him to his Judaism as a way of being able to make sense of and move on from that loss.
Maybe he meets Alicia Masters, and in that they make her Jewish or
Right,
something.
something like that.
Okay.
But I think that if the question is like pie in the sky, how
Hmm.
can they fix it? That would be something meaningful,
Hmm.
right? I don't think they're going to go quite that explicit, but even again, just showing like that he goes and to synagogue for his own sake in trying to mourn things, that would be meaningful to me.
Okay.
Do you have an answer to your own question?
Well, I did,
Yeah,
but now that I realize that like I was confused because I thought for sure at the end of Thunderbolts, I'm like, oh sweet, okay, so like the Fantastic Four are going to lose, Galactus is going to eat their planet, and they're
right,
going to come to the 616. Fine.
right.
I'm glad they swerved me, bro, because
Yeah,
like I was like waiting for it, and I was like, and by the end in that last scene, I was rooting for the Fantastic Four, and
right.
I Judas sitting next to me, and he was too. Like I wanted them to win, so I'm glad it didn't end like that. However, like that would be a shame if Natasha Lyonne was in those like 4 minutes of
Yeah,
total time and like that never got developed. I guess I would like to see him actually doing something Jewish. Like I think I need to see the hat coming off and the kippah going on.
right.
Even if that's the only scene that
Sure.
they need, that they
Yeah,
do to imply that he's, like uh, a pull-out shot of him walking into the synagogue, no dialogue even,
yeah,
sitting down, taking off his hat and putting in it kippah as the door closed and the shot pulls away. Like that synagogue is still there, but it's like 30 years
yeah,
older, 40 years older, or whatever. Something like that.
yeah,
Like just if you're gonna have a little tiny bit, have the little tiny bit be really, really
yeah.
meaningful.
You know, it's so funny. I am watching the Coen Brothers filmography right now because Blank Check is covering them. And in Miller's Crossing, which I asked you if you had seen, um, when one of the characters dies, you just suddenly cut to a funeral that is clearly a Jewish funeral with characters wearing kippot, and it's just there. It just happens in the movie. And I was thinking about how there's so many older movies that there was another movie I'd seen. What was it? There was this like Italian horror movie by Dario Argento that I saw that also had a funeral scene, and suddenly they're saying Kaddish, and like you used to just have movies that would suddenly have these funeral scenes that are clearly Jewish with men with kippahs saying the words of Kaddish. And it's funny that like now we're shying away from that kind of thing. And like
Yeah.
I would, like you said, him just putting on the kippah, or right, like maybe they go to a funeral for Rachel or for
Right.
somebody, right? And you like something like that would also be very meaningful, I think.
Yeah, I mean anything. It has to be something where, like you said, I mean you really um, articulated it so well, and I hadn't done that for myself yet. That he felt sort of like the un-Jewish one, like everyone else was Jewish, and that he
Yes.
could have been. You could have interpreted it that he wasn't even Jewish,
Right.
and that he was just interested in a person who was Jewish, and it hadn't occurred to me, and that makes me sad.
Yeah, right. Unfortunately. Yeah.
But I guess I mean, so let's talk about the movie itself. Um, we talked a little bit offline, but like, so for me, I had a good time during it, and I sort of was watching it through my son's eyes, so
Yeah.
like, like I liked the Marvels too because
Right.
I was
Totally.
watching it, and it was just it felt like it was good to see a fun MCU movie that felt
Yeah.
original. I felt the same way about Thunderbolts, by the way.
I like Thunderbolts a lot more.
Yeah.
I thought Fantastic Four. was
You just thought it was
surprisingly
bland.
lacking in fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought the opening was amazing. I loved the late night show sort of pastiche, the going through all their
The
adventures,
montage,
made the
yeah.
montage of all of them. I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I just thought that the actual four were a little bland, a little muted. Like I just didn't
You know,
have much strong character to them. And even
they
though they
weren't
had
memorable as those characters. You're not going to think like the way that you think that Chris Evans is Captain
right,
America. You don't
exactly.
think like, oh yeah, Pedro Pascal, he was Mr. He wasn't Reed
He
Richards.
was not
He,
embodying Reed Richards
yeah,
exactly. He was a guy who was
yeah,
there, and I liked them as a family, and I
right.
liked the and they're it really had that '60s feel. But sometimes, did you ever used to watch? I forget if it was '60s or '70s, the old Fantastic Four cartoon that was
Right.
basically just adapting
Yeah.
every comic into a cartoon. Sometimes it kind of felt like it had that energy where I
Yeah.
was like, this actually feels so 60s that it
Dialogue,
kind
dialogue,
yeah,
dialogue. Yeah.
it feels like the 60s of the old classic Silver Age comics, which are fun to read as like a historical experience, but it's just not modern comics.
Right.
And it's like a little dull. And so even though it was the best adaptation of Fantastic Four I've seen,
Yes, it was the
by
fourth
far,
best.
right?
It was the
Also,
first best of four. Yeah.
also, right,
Yeah.
but I knew I was like, it's Fantastic Four. It has to be the fourth one,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
But like, it felt like we could only make this work if we make it so 60s, and they made it so 60s that it just was, I don't know, it was lacking. I thought the Marvels had some, so like in the Marvels, which you mentioned, when they go to that planet where they can only sing, I was like, what a
Mhm.
great gag. What a
So
silly
silly.
fun. Like, I didn't feel that set, like,
There
it was
wasn't the
sort of
silliness. Yeah.
dreary. It was sort of like, yes, Galactus is a serious threat, but it was so serious that I didn't really feel like we got to enjoy it. And as you said, the characters only felt like half of themselves. Like now that I'm thinking about it, the Thing, I loved how menschy he was. I missed his like cragginess. I missed
And he
his
didn't banter with
with Johnny
Johnny.
as
They
much. And
like he kind of like Johnny would like say something and he'd be like, okay,
right.
you know.
And Johnny was, I liked that he was able to translate the language and we showed that Johnny had brains, but I missed the hothead Johnny. He wasn't at all a
Yeah.
hothead show off. He wasn't at all um
Ladies
a
man.
ladies man
Yeah.
dating all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that like the idea of a Johnny Storm who is both intelligent enough to translate an alien language and a hothead ladies man, that's what makes him an interesting character.
Right.
The Thing being this grump who's also got a heart of gold and is
Right.
very sweet and can do the cooking in the kitchen. That's what makes him an interesting character. They kind of one-noted most of the Fantastic Four. And
Yeah.
so it just, again, I enjoyed it. I also want to acknowledge it was a day off from camp, right? That's not necessarily the best mindset to be in because I'm like recovering from camp. So maybe there's a version where I'm fully rested and I go and I see it and I'm like, oh, this is a lot more fun. But my viewing experience was like, I was like even keeled throughout it. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't rooting for it in the way that Thunderbolts was this like quirky
It's
family
different.
made. It
Yeah.
was different.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. What did you? How many stars did you give it on Letterbox? Let's put
I
it that way.
I gave it 3.5 because
Okay,
it's more than
that's what I did.
enjoyable,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, so
I
that's
yeah.
more than I expected
Oh,
based on
based
your
on the way I was
review.
describing, yeah, because
That
it's
was
like
very generous of you.
yeah, I just didn't I feel like I've seen some movies lately that really were 3-star watches, and I was like, it was better than that. Like I would go back
It
to
was still
this.
a Marvel movie with beloved characters, and it had
Exactly.
I, Galactus was awesome.
Galactus was
That was
fantastic.
that
I
last scene was
loved
really
that take.
cool.
What a great way to like defeat him. I loved that. I really enjoyed Silver Surfer and
Yeah,
that
I
version
didn't
of it,
care
that
about the
adaptation. The gender, no, right? And some
didn't
people were like,
affect it at all.
not at all. And it was such a cool version. It was also cool as this alternate reality where it's like because the character who was Silver Surfer is normally the woman who died, and
Right.
Norrin Rad, right, becomes the Silver Surfer. So I like that it was flipped in
It
this
was
very cool way. It
cool.
was great.
And it gave more depth to her when they showed her origin later.
Right.
And that Johnny has a little bit of a crush on her. Like
Right. But
that.
again, right, like Johnny acknowledges it, and that was very much where I was like, I wish you would show me instead of telling me. They
Hmm.
told us that he always likes the women. I
Hmm.
wish they just showed it a bit more, and
Hmm.
then you could really feel it when it's like, yeah, he's got a crush on the space lady, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. But yes, I liked that version of Silver Surfer. I liked her self-sacrificing. I liked the way they beat Galactus. Like Galactus was a legitimate imposing threat.
So let me ask you some clarifying Marvel questions. So
Yeah.
because Judah kept asking me about this, can does Galactus expand and contract? Because like Judah and I, by extension me, we didn't really understand how like he is so big that he consumes planets, but he also would like walk on Earth. So does he get bigger and get
My
smaller?
understanding is that he is quite a big boy, but he is not bigger than a planet big. And what he does is like he uses a machine, like that machine that bores through the planet, right? He uses a machine to somehow, and I could be wrong, transform the planet into like energy that he's able to consume. So it's not like he's like open mouth chomp, right?
Yeah,
He's not
yeah.
biting it in that way,
Okay.
right? It's not a snack in that way. It's that he consumes the planet essentially, its life force, its energy, its essence in that way.
Okay.
So in that way, obviously he was like much smaller when he's just going through. He was kind of Godzilla size more than anything else. I think in the comics he might be bigger than that, but yeah, it's like I guess it's not so dissimilar. Like a cow is much bigger than us, and we still eat cow, right? So like we're on the same planet.
Well, because like I feel like in the comics I picture his like face, giant face out in outer space,
Yeah,
but then like, but in the movie he was in a planet. Like they had to go to a planet.
right. They had to go to his
So
home.
I don't know how, Rabbi Professor Marvel here.
Sure.
So I don't know how vast your Fantastic Four not lore knowledge is. Certainly more than mine, and I read the comics at various times. But what were there things that were storyline wise taken from the comics? Like was the basic Galactus plot
That
with
to me felt
Franklin being involved? Was that part of the?
Franklin was definitely not around, right? So from what I recall, Franklin's not born until sometime in the hundreds of the Fantastic Four. And the Galactus storyline is a very famous storyline from Fantastic Four number 48 through number 50.
Oh,
It's
okay.
actually like really famously known for it's like this trilogy, and also they resolve it within like the first half of number 50, and it starts a whole other plot line. It's just such a weird view on like this climactic story.
So that was like what, like
But
1970 or something, or like
yeah, I mean, well,
or
they start in
67?
1961,
Oh,
so
okay.
it's only four, so it's like 65 maybe. Would
Oh,
that be
okay.
right? If it was coming out every month, yeah. Um,
So the Galactus is a Jack Kirby. Like,
Galactus is well, also Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, Fantastic Four is the title they had the longest run on. I
right.
believe it was over 100 issues. So they're on that book for like most of what we know is Fantastic Four
Oh,
all came
wow.
from Stan and
Oh, they
Jack.
created the whole
Right, like
lore.
they created the entire lore. And so Silver Surfer and the Watcher and Galactus, I believe, all debut in Fantastic Four number 48. That was the one piece that was missing. It'd be very cool if the Watcher, who we got from the What If
Yeah,
cartoon,
he's in
was
that
there because he's
SKU.
a significant part of the story. In the comics, they stop Galactus through what's called the Ultimate Nullifier, which is this, MacGuffin device that is powerful enough to defeat Galactus, and Human Torch is the only one who can get it. And then they bring the Ultimate Nullifier, and it takes away.
And
But
how
like,
is how is the Watcher involved? Do they convince him to help or
yeah,
something?
I believe it's the first time that the Watcher breaks his vow, right? It's like you introduce him and then he breaks his vow immediately by telling them about the Ultimate Nullifier, right? It makes sense, right? In the comic, you introduce this character, he's vowed, and then they get him to interrupt
That's
that
like in the
mission.
Superman movie when Guy Gardner was like, "It's part of my vow," and they're like,
Yeah.
anytime he doesn't want to do something, it's part of his
Right.
vow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the opposite of that.
Exactly.
Okay, so and but like, did Franklin ever like? I know Franklin in the comics is like the most powerful mutant. And he's
Right.
Omega level mutant. He can create worlds and
Right.
stuff, obviously, as we discussed.
Yes.
Um, so did he ever like do something like that where he
So
brought
I
Sue back to
don't.
life or someone back to life?
Well, he technically saved the entirety of all the non-mutant Marvel superheroes for the Heroes Reborn, so that's definitely happened. There is a connection. Oh gosh, okay, I don't remember what the issues are, but I know that there are storylines that establish the idea that there is a connection between Franklin Richards and Galactus that has been explored in the comics. Because with Galactus, there was actually was it Jim
Starlin?
Starlin who wrote it? Possibly. There was like a famous, I think it was like a black and white comic that kind of
Hmm.
explored cosmic Marvel, and basically the idea is that in the world that existed before ours, Galactus is the last survivor of that world. And sort of the Big Bang that created our world was the end of his world. And he kind of came through. And as the last survivor, he came through as Galactus, right? And became this devourer of worlds. And the idea is that, like, at the end of time in our universe, whoever the last person is, I think someone ends up defeating Galactus. I don't remember who, but like there's this battle, and whoever that person is, who's the last survivor of our world, will go into the next world and become the Galactus for them. So
Okay.
that's sort of the idea. So they did a modified version of it where it's like Galactus does pass on his hunger. He's trying to find someone to take his place because he is like a universal constant in the sort of cosmography of the Marvel universe.
Got it. Okay. Like he never dies. Like
Well, like
he
the
goes away.
Galactus does have a real name because it's the name of the person he was before he
Uh-huh.
became Galactus. That individual will die, but
Uh,
someone else will become Galactus. I guess it's not too dissimilar in DC from like there's always a specter, right? It's like it might be a different person filling the role, or there's always a ghost writer, right? It's like these like cosmic forces that somebody always has to fill it.
Great. Okay. So, the end credit scene, or I guess the mid credit scene,
Sure.
Doom,
Great. Loved
right?
it.
Okay.
Loved it.
So there are some, you already mentioned, like there's some comic references there, like Franklin and Victor Von Doom have a connection
But
in the
not as
comic.
strong as so eventually Reed and Sue have a second child named
Oh.
Valeria,
Is she a
who
mutant
is
too?
I don't think so.
She
She's
doesn't
just
have power?
really smart
Oh.
from what I remember. I could again, Fantastic Four is something that I drop in on every now and then.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
bits and pieces. But I do know that with Valeria, Doom is very close to her. And in fact, I believe when Sue is giving birth to her, Doom kind of steps in and helps her and saves the day. And what his cost is, he's like, I want to name the child because um, right, Doctor Doom is from
Latveria.
Latveria, and
Yeah.
so he names her Valeria, which there's like this name.
Oh.
So he is officially instated as her
Yeah, I was
godfather.
gonna say
And
he's
there are
like,
multiple comics where it's like she has to call on him for help. And he like adores her, he gives her gifts, he like really loves this child who like Valeria's also kind of got like a bit more of a dark side than Franklin ever did in this way.
oh, okay.
So I'm curious if they're kind of combining Franklin and Valeria in one with this character by having Doom show up and have a relationship to Franklin.
Okay, so in the comics, Victor Von Doom was Reed Richards' like lab partner, best friend.
Right, college roommate.
Something goes
I don't think
wrong.
they were best friends. I think they
Oh,
always had like
rivals.
a
Oh,
rival.
rivals.
Yeah.
Okay, something goes wrong. Victor's
Face
face
gets
gets scarred, but maybe not. Like
right.
he thinks it does,
Yes.
and he goes back to his country, dons an iron mask, and somehow then becomes the ruler of that country.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
is he's a to them he's like a benevolent ruler, but to the rest of the world he's like a tyrant,
Yes. I
basically.
think it like always goes back and forth, right? It's like sometimes he's viewed as being very, he is a dictator, he is a tyrant,
He
and also he cares about his people and keeps them fed, right? So it's like, yeah,
like are there
some
like they're like does he enslave his people? Like is he like
doesn't seem to be. I think I
like
don't
they
get
love him, right?
they love him and also have to love him, I think. And also, again, like I don't always read of the comics where they go to Latveria, but usually in the storylines, when they enter Latveria, there are people trying to fight off the invaders because they want to protect Doctor Doom.
Yeah, okay.
But sometimes those are brainwashed people. So it's like,
Okay.
I think it probably shifts based on the writer, where some it's like, yeah, he's bloodless, and some are like, no way, this guy's a dictator. Clearly he must be using force and technology to make this happen. He's
Okay.
manipulating them. But generally, yes, it is like he does look out for his people.
Okay. And Doom is in the comics, he's in love with Sue. He knew Sue back then too, right? And he's
I'm not sure when he got to know Sue. I
oh,
would
but
really
he's
need to
always
get
been in
into it.
love with her.
There's some, well, I don't know if he is, because it's more Namor is where the love triangle is, right? Where
Oh,
Sue kind of
right.
has a thing for Namor has a
Right.
thing for Sue. Namor tends to have a thing for any blonde woman because he likes Emma Frost of the X-Men also. But it's more, I think, that Doom hates Richard so much and is so envious of him that he wants anything that Reed has. So if Reed has Sue, I think Doom
Got
wants
it.
Sue.
Okay.
There is a famous X-Men storyline where Doom's fighting the X-Men, but then he like has dinner with Storm and wants to marry Storm. Because all there's like for a while there in Chris Claremont's X-Men, all the major villains like fall in love with Storm. They all want to marry her.
And the King of Wakanda did
Yes,
too.
yes, Black Panther does also, yeah.
Every leader of a nation, I
Yes,
guess.
exactly, exactly. I guess
Okay.
Namor never goes after Storm, but
Okay.
yeah,
So it feels like in the MCU, they're just they're pivoting away from they're not completely shelving the multiverse stuff. It didn't work, but they're just
with
going to
Kang,
Doom
you mean? Yeah,
right, because there's all that stuff.
yeah.
But um Doom in the comics, he not only is like a master of science and a dictator and like a whatever, a world, whatever, like he also uh dabbles in magic too, right?
Yes, he dabbles in magic. There eventually ends up being this revelation that he dabbles in magic because he's trying to save his mother's soul because she was sent to hell. There's a really great comic by Mike Mignola called Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom Triumph and Torment, about the two of them teaming up to be able to
Oh.
go. There's also a famous Iron Man crossover where Doctor Doom and Iron Man travel in past to like King Arthur's time and like interact with Arthurian legends. And of course, Doom teams up with Mordred and Iron Man teams up with Arthur
Okay.
and Merlin. So like yes, magic and science is very much the Doctor Doom alchemy. That is what he does. He is both a man of dark mystic arts and of great science.
It is and now I'm gonna get like I want to go real deep now.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
I don't know if I'll be able to answer it, but
All
we'll
right.
try.
So Latveria, it's coded as Eastern Europe.
Yes.
Is it ever explicit as Eastern Europe? And if so, did they have World War II? Are there Jews there?
I
Like
am pretty sure there's comics that get into World War II in Latveria. I haven't read them, so I
okay,
can't tell you about that.
like the invaders came in there.
I've never encountered. I would imagine that based on the way Latveria works, it was probably closed off, similar to Wakanda, right? I
Oh,
think it
it's
was
like a
probably more closed
secret
off.
society
I don't
kind of.
think it's secret. I just think it had less interaction with the rest of Europe around it. Because, like, if you're a dictator in that way, right, you have pretty tight borders, right? And the same
Right,
with it, like, North Korea is pretty locked off from the rest of
right,
the world right
right,
now.
right.
So I think,
Okay.
I think it was just, I don't know. I
Well,
don't
did
know of
Boom take
any.
over for another dictator? Because like he was in
He
college with
must have,
Reed.
or was, yeah. Again, I would
You
have to
don't
look
know.
into it.
Okay.
I don't know
You don't
enough.
know that
Yeah.
lore that deep. Okay, then I won't go that way. Um, anything else about the Fantastic Four? I guess we should
Yeah.
tell folks to go back and listen to our Thing episodes, episodes one and
100%.
one and two, because you'll learn more about the Thing and why we love him so much and why we're so disappointed.
And I forget the episode number, but we also had a catch-up episode where we went back to a bunch of characters and found stories we either had missed the first time or had come out since. And so we covered the thing again there. I'm actually remembering there was a storyline during Civil War where Human Torch Johnny was in the hospital and the thing was mentioning his Judaism while he's visiting and waiting for Johnny to recuperate. So
Hmm.
that's also there. So yeah, you can go back and find those episodes. And of course, in our Moon Knight, I think our most updated one,
Yeah.
the thing pops up there again, right? Like the
Yeah.
thing has popped up multiple times in various other
He's
characters.
he's right. I think we said in that episode he's now like the Jewish guy, and
He
he's
is
like the
the
Jewish
Jewish
he's like the
character.
Jewish expert in
Yes,
that in the Marvel Comics universe. So
absolutely.
okay, great. Well, until then, I'm Henry Bernstein.
And I'm Brandon Bernstein,
No
no
relation.
relation.
Thanks for listening. You can follow us at Jewish Comics Pod on Facebook and Twitter, or you can email us at jewishcomicspodcast@gmail.com. Please don't forget to give us a rating, and you can hit the subscribe button if you haven't already.